Channel 2 News.
New details unfolding by the minute. Mario, appreciate it. Thanks so much. Want to bring in health reporter Haley Hernandez now. Haley, this sort of goes along the lines with what other cities and other countries have done because of coronavirus concerns.
Yeah, guys. So the whole world is impacted by this right now. It seems like, you know, obviously there's the hot spots, but worldwide, I mean, Italy is closed down. Italy is on lockdown. There's no weddings and funerals happening in Italy. That just shows that, I mean, this is having a huge impact on people's lives. Obviously, the rodeo is a massive event for our city and something that not a lot of people would want to see canceled, but there was, you know, that petition floating around online that thousands of people were saying, why aren't you canceling it? Because states like Washington State are saying that they're not going to have any public events of more than 250 people. So we've seen around Texas too, South by Southwest canceled, some of our schools canceled, classes at A&M canceled through Monday and Tuesday of next week. They're looking at what they would possibly do for the rest of the school year. Coachella has been postponed. So worldwide and certainly in our country, there have been a lot of, yeah, you're looking at Coachella video now. For those of you who don't know, this is also a massive event. They're saying that this is going to be postponed because obviously nobody wants to cancel something, and then there's so many logistics with that, and people who've already bought tickets, you know, people have already made travel arrangements. People have made travel arrangements to the rodeo. There's cowboys who make their living off of coming to our rodeo and winning money here. There's students who win scholarships by coming to our rodeo. This is something that, of course, there's a lot of hesitation and a lot of thought that goes into canceling something like this, but I think that shows you that there is a serious concern about coronavirus. It's not something that we're trying to panic people about, because sure, there are lots of people around the world who have gotten coronavirus and gotten better, but we have a vulnerable part of our population that we don't want exposed to something like this.
And it's unclear right now if this is going to be an immediate shutdown or if it's going to happen in phases. A timetable hasn't been given yet.
As I was running to the set, I was like, guys, when are we shutting it down? Is it this afternoon? Is it tomorrow? So we don't know. We haven't had the officials come out and give the exact guidelines of how this is going to happen. I'm just here to tell you that if they're closing an event this large, it's a big deal.
And now also a good time to remind folks the best practices for keeping yourself safe from the coronavirus.
You're right. My favorite topic this week, Andy.
Because you hear so many different things.
Yeah, and it's not the media telling you got to wash your hands. You know, the U.S. Surgeon General is saying, hey, guess what? We're all adults and we've developed bad habits and you're not doing it right anymore. So 20 seconds of good hand washing. If you don't know how long that is, hey, Gangsta's Paradise, Barbie Girl, sing the chorus of those pop songs, and that's 20 seconds. It's actually a lot longer than you may think. Make sure that you're cleaning surfaces. Avoiding crowds is one suggestion, so it's no surprise that we see things being canceled and being postponed. They're saying also to possibly consider not traveling if you have an underlying condition. They're not canceling travel within, you know, domestic flights or anything, but they're saying if you have an underlying condition, you might want to consider that. Again, we went over underlying conditions: heart disease, kidney disease, diabetes, transplant patients. If you have something like that, you are more vulnerable to a disease like this.
And I remember earlier this week you did a story about coughing. It said cough in a tissue or your elbow. It's better than just your hand.
Yeah, but we still don't know how long this virus can live on surfaces. So even if you're using your elbow, we don't know how long the virus could live on something like that. It's not likely that it would live, you know, forever. But they are suggesting to use a tissue or something that you can dispose of, get rid of it, and not be spreading those germs.
And it was mentioned the gloves, because a lot of people, I mean, I just recently went to the airport and people were wearing gloves on the planes, and they were disinfecting, but they had on gloves. But you said the gloves, you cough into them, you don't know how long it can live on the gloves.
Yeah, then you're still using your hands to touch other things. You know, think about your phones right now, guys. That's something that your hands are touching all day long. You might want to make sure to clean your phones too. Apple has always said that those harsh chemicals could hurt the screen. Now they're saying, maybe not. Maybe the pros are better than the cons of disinfecting. And you know, I know stores are out of disinfectants, and we're not telling you to run out and buy up all the disinfectants from stores, but you know, just be mindful of everything you touch. Maybe start giving a good clean. The health department is saying that if you don't have Clorox wipes, it's just like during a hurricane. You can make that bleach solution, which is 3/4 of a cup bleach, 1 gallon of water, it'll kill everything.
Yeah, this story obviously continues to evolve and the number of cases continues to increase in our area. Talk to us a little bit about the testing criteria for coronavirus. What goes into that specifically?
That's a good question, Andy, because I think we're going to see the testing criteria starting to evolve now. It used to be if you presented to a doctor and you said you had been to China or an impacted area and you were feeling those symptoms of cough and fever, then you were being tested for coronavirus. Now the CDC is saying to physicians to use your best judgment on who should be tested, because we saw that case in Montgomery County this morning is someone who does not have a travel history. So now we're looking at a possible community spread. We're looking at more people being tested. The city health department tells me that they have seen a big increase in people who are being tested, although they are tricky and won't tell me how many people they're testing. They just straight up told me, I'm not going to tell you that number. So we don't know. We can guess that there's a lot more negatives than positives, because we do know of only a few positive cases, but we know that a lot more people are being tested and a lot of doctors are pushing those.
And then what we know, there's 14 cases here. Some are presumptive, some are positive. Can you tell people the difference? Because that could be confusing to someone just tuning in and hasn't heard before.
Because in these press conferences and us as reporters, we have this information. We know what this means and we go and repeat it. But I understand, you know, at home, what's the difference between presumed positive and confirmed positive? Presumed means that the coronavirus has been detected at a local lab here in Houston or at a state lab. It is not considered confirmed until the CDC in Atlanta says that is a confirmed case. So the CDC in Atlanta is still the voice of all things corona. That's still who we're turning to for all of our information. That is a reliable source. If you're looking for reliable information, they have to confirm these tests before it's considered confirmed. But our local tests are doing a good job of detecting the virus now.
And Montgomery County health officials also saying this morning during their news conference that they've had 21 people being monitored since February 7th. Some of those people are people who've had close contact with this 40-year-old man who is a presumptive positive case from Northwest Montgomery County.
Yeah, so just like with all of those cases, now they're going to be going back and tracking everybody that he's come in contact with, where he's been, and trying to alert those people. You know, we heard about the woman this morning who was temporarily living in Italy. The health department for the first time released what flight information she was on. So that information is on our website, by the way, and up on my Facebook page. So we do now still have information that even if you have not been alerted and you've been on a flight or you've had questionable contact, there's starting to be more information to the general public.
Yeah, we haven't really seen any public health advisories from the airports. I know some airports across the country have been issuing advisories, letting people know that people who've possibly have the coronavirus, who are infected with the coronavirus, have been traveling through a specific airport. But we have not seen that at our airports because according to the 3 health departments that we've been in touch with, Harris County, Houston, and Fort Bend County, there's really no risk to someone if you're just sort of walking by them in the airport and they're infected with coronavirus. They're saying that doesn't necessarily constitute a risk, and they don't want to start putting out the identities of these different locations and create an alarming situation, unnecessary alarm for the public.
Right, but we do know that some travel organizations are starting to issue refunds. I know somebody from my Facebook was telling me that they were able to get their money back. So as I mentioned before, Houston Methodist Hospital was telling me that if you are one of those, like a transplant patient, you might want to reconsider your travel right now.
All right, thanks, Haley.
That is not for everyone,
exactly.
Just for the people who are most vulnerable.
We do want to tell you the breaking news we have been following. There is word that the Houston Livestock Show and Rodeo is going to be shut down because of concerns about the coronavirus. There is going to be a news conference scheduled for noon. Our Mario Diaz is out there right now speaking with vendors. So, Mario, what's the feeling out there? What have the vendors been saying?
Well, it's interesting. Since our last report about 15 minutes ago on this, we had somebody walk by here, a couple of individuals, in fact, and they're saying, is this news true? And all we know is it's going to be happening at 12 o'clock from the news conference. I told them what I've reported on air thus far, that we've heard of this already. We've spoken with multiple sources, one from within City Hall that tells us that they are going to shut down the rodeo. Their initial reaction was shocked. One vendor in particular, they're on the committee member, they're a committee member for the vendors, and they indicated to me that I didn't expect this at all. She said this is going to impact several hundred vendors, whether it's food or whether it's merchandise within the hall, because of the fact that what you have to keep in mind is that this is their year. They make their entire year over the course of the 3 weeks of the rodeo. They also indicated that this is going to impact scholarships. Not all the kids are going to be able to attain their scholarships that they work for here, as well as part of the judging that goes on. Her official quote, "It hurts, it's understandable, it is just very painful." She then went on to add, "I would not have wanted to be in that position to pull the plug on the rodeo." But again, all indications are that that appears to be the case. Minutes later, I had a few other vendors that came by, a few other members of a different committee that came by, and they indicated to me that, is this news true? Is this news true? You can kind of get the sense that it's starting to make its way through the halls here, through the fairgrounds, through the entire rodeo itself, in a strange parallel, similar to what we've seen with this virus. It's moving slowly, and then obviously it gets out and becomes a widespread situation. Again, we're waiting for this news to officially drop at around noon, but from what we're gathering, again, from individuals that are very well connected with regards to the information that's going on right now here at the rodeo, as well as within City Hall, one council member indicating that they are planning to shut down the rodeo, whether it's going to take place over the course of phases, if it's going to be immediate, if it's going to be after today. We just don't know that information yet. We do know that there's going to be a news conference at noon with Dr. Percy, with Mayor Sylvester Turner, as well as with the judge, Lena Hidalgo, the county judge. That is going to take place on the first floor there at City Hall, inside the Legacy Room. We're going to have that news conference for you live. But here at the rodeo, if you can look right behind me here in the hallway, you can see people are just making their way here, and it's business as usual. And we saw plenty of business going on with children inside of this building where I'm standing at, as well as out on the fairgrounds with the rides. You can see them fully operating right now, as well as some of the food vendors. This is going to be a tough blow for many people. This is a rodeo that's a major, major attraction, not only for us here in Houston, but for many people outside of the greater Houston area. And it's going to be a very sombering news for many when they find out today that the rodeo has been shut down. But again, keep in mind, we are seeing this nationwide. We are not the only situation where you have a big event that's being shut down. We saw yesterday the governor of Ohio make this announcement saying that they didn't want anybody involved in any major public events. So it's going to be interesting to see what else might take place after this. But again, this news conference is slated for the top of the hour, involving Mayor Sylvester Turner, Judge Lena Hidalgo, Dr. David Percy. The news that is expected to come out here is that the rodeo will be shutting down. Again, we do not know exactly when, if it's going to be scaled down. What does this mean for the remaining acts here in the coming week, or does it take place in the next 24 hours? Unanswered questions that will be answered here at the top of the hour. But that's the very latest from here at the Houston Livestock Show and Rodeo. I'm Mario Diaz, KPRC, Channel 2 News.
Mario, appreciate it. Thanks so much. Mario making some great points there about the impact and how far it's going to reach, from scholarships to the vendors that he's been talking to out there.
Yeah, Haley mentioned earlier, people wait all year and kind of make their living from the rodeo, and all those kids with the scholarships. This is impacting a lot of people. Lots of concerts happening that will more than likely be canceled. Again, he didn't say a timetable of exactly when. We're going to hear about that in the news conference coming at noon. But let's go to now our Sion, who is at City Hall. So, Sion, what can you tell us?
I am in the very room where that news conference Mario mentioned will take place, as you've heard, at noon. We've got a little hint that the city was definitely ramping up its response to coronavirus this morning during City Council. Mayor Sylvester Turner announcing new policies for city employees, no international travel, and that if you do travel internationally, he is asking that as a city employee, you self-quarantine for 14 days. That is a new policy just issued this morning by the Mayor, Sylvester Turner. He says the city is well equipped with personal protective equipment, and he also made an announcement that they have provided 10,000 masks to the Texas Medical Center for medical use. There's been a lot of concerns about people buying these masks who don't actually need them, when the folks who do need them, the health professionals in our city who are treating people possibly infected with coronavirus, may not have access. So reassuring that the city is stocked, is prepared, 10,000 masks to the Texas Medical Center locations so that they can be prepared for what everyone is saying is going to definitely be a ramping up of the coronavirus. And I think we're seeing how the city is preparing to respond to that right now. Guys, back to you.
All right, Sion, thanks so much. Yeah, certainly we are going to learn more about the city's plans and preparations coming up during that news conference scheduled for noon. So we'll learn more about that, as well as the plans to shut down the Houston Livestock Show and Rodeo. We don't have a timetable that we can give you on that right now. It's unclear if it's going to happen all at once or if they'll shut the rodeo down in phases, because this is spring break. It's the first week of spring break.
Right.
We've got next week to get through, so parents certainly going to have to make alternate plans for their kids to keep them busy.
But you did already see it a little bit with the rodeo. People were already starting to avoid those crowds. We only could assume that they were doing it because of coronavirus, but you know, sold out shows that are typically sold out in the past did not have as large of an audience as they have before. So we know that there was that petition going around online for people to cancel it, but this cannot have been an easy decision. We are still very much shocked that it's happening because of how many people this impacts. This isn't one concert, this is weeks of concerts. And like you said, people are making their living off of this. There are students relying on scholarships from this. So this is a massive blow.
It's a major blow for sure.
One of the biggest concerts is actually Lizzo. It's coming up soon.
Yeah,
That's sold out so quickly.
Night. Yeah. So, I mean, there's no answers yet as to how people are going to get refunded or, you know, what they're going to do to reimburse people. No, none of those answers yet. So we can only hope that that's stuff that we really start to learn at noon. Obviously, they would not be coming out at noon and saying anything if they didn't already think this through.
Right, and certainly organizers are following the lead of other cities and other countries, for that matter, also dealing with these coronavirus concerns. Festivals, concerts, I mean, you name it, they've been canceled. Boston recently announcing that it is canceling its famed St. Patrick's Day parade. Unclear what the impact will be on the Boston Marathon coming up, but that's still going on. But the parade, that's a marquee event for the city of Boston.
There's the rumors that we've heard March Madness.
Yeah,
the sporting events.
No fans. Yeah.
The debate coming up. They're not going to be letting people into the Democratic debate in Phoenix.
Yeah, they're saying it's for the safety of it. For sporting events, it's for the safety of the players too, but also just the general public who plans to attend. So I'm sure we'll hear a lot of that at noon when they're talking about the rodeo, but who knows how they can possibly shut this all down. It's such a huge event.
It's huge, and we're so lucky here. You're the only reporter in Houston covering the coronavirus day and night, so you've been speaking with everyone.
Focusing on, yeah, and I mean, the hope is that everybody, you know, takes this seriously. It gets contained, it gets quarantined, it's over, and then, you know, a couple years from now, you guys won't even remember who I am. So, you know, hopefully this is all taken very seriously as we see the city is making moves to make it one of their priorities. So the goal is to just squash this thing, make it go away, and then we don't hear from it again. But that is why I'm the only health reporter on television here in Houston, following this information for you and bringing it to you. You know, guys, a lot of the times I'm just talking about the medical breakthroughs and the latest and greatest from the Texas Medical Center. This is an issue that the world has brought to us, and so we're going to be covering it until it's gone.
And also important to add some perspective here, and we heard Montgomery County health officials talk about this during their news conference at 10:30 this morning. The overall risk to the general public, they're saying right now, is relatively low.
Yeah, still low, still what the CDC and our local health departments are saying, still a low risk. The reason that this continues to be such a big deal is because of how contagious it is and how for the vulnerable population, in this case, that's not even children, it's older people, and for people with underlying health conditions, how deadly this could be for them. Did you know that there's actually a way to measure how contagious something is?
Really?
So I talked about this on Facebook. If you're my Facebook viewer, bear with me for a minute. I'm going to repeat myself. It's called the reproductive number. So a scientist at Baylor College of Medicine was telling me they label a disease by a reproductive number to determine how contagious it is. For example, measles is like a 14, which means for every one person infected with measles, they could give it to 14 people. The thing is that for measles and for the flu, we have vaccines for those. That makes us less susceptible to getting them. For coronavirus, it's for every one person who gets coronavirus, they think spreads it to 2 to 4 people. The really bad thing is that there's no vaccine to make us less susceptible, and therefore the entire community would be considered susceptible to getting it.
But you were telling us before, some different groups are working on a potential vaccine for coronavirus.
UTMB and Baylor College of Medicine are working together on a vaccine. Actually, it's one that they have in their freezer. They've already invented it. It's been there for a while. They invented it for SARS, which, as you remember, is a part of the coronavirus family. The problem that they ran into is lack of funding. So now they're waiting. This week is going to be an important week for them, they say, to determine if they can get the funding to make this vaccine happen a little faster for humans. They still have to go through all of the safety testing that they do for all vaccines. So it could be a year before that vaccine is available. It could be longer if they don't have the funding. We're just going to have to wait and see. But UTMB is saying this is one of the most promising vaccines that's out there for the prevention of coronavirus. It wouldn't cure anyone of coronavirus. It's the prevention, just like the flu shot prevents you from getting the flu. It's no guarantee, but it's a prevention.
So possibly some encouraging news, as a lot of folks who are tuning in right now may have some anxiety about the coronavirus. We've already seen people, stop shaking hands. It's, you know, it's resorting now to fist bumping or
doing the elbow
or kicking the feet. I mean, people are, people are taking this seriously. They're concerned.
They're heading to the stores. They're buying up all the sanitizer, the toilet paper. We've seen that too. People are stocking up on that for if they're potentially had to go under that 14-day quarantine.
Yeah. People are mad at me. I never told you to do that. I never told you.
You did not.
That
no.
you have to do that. The health department's recommendation was that you might want to have some things prepared in case you are one of those people. In the unlikely chance that you're one of those people who they approached and said, you're going to need to self-quarantine, you've been in direct contact with coronavirus, then they want to make sure that you don't then go try and buy things at the store and try and, buy up everything that you're going to need for 2 weeks and then contaminate more people. They want you to have these things at your house already. Why people are buying bottled water is probably because they recommended that it be like a hurricane prepared kit. But you don't need bottled water when we would have running water. This is unlike a hurricane. This is a virus. It's not going to get in our water supply.
Well, yeah, and the Houston Food Bank, I mean, we saw from Vincent Crivelli's report, they had volunteers getting these packets, these kits ready for people who may end up being self-quarantined.
Because look at who the food bank helps. They help people who don't have the ability to have those food reserves. So, of course, if this were to affect someone who doesn't already have that reserve and does not have the ability to get it right now for, 2 weeks is a long time to prepare. So the food bank is preparing themselves to start helping those people if that comes about.
Yeah, this virus is so new and there's so much that we don't know. One of the things that I know a lot of people are wondering, hey, is this coronavirus, is it going to be seasonal like the flu, or is this something that we may only deal with in the colder months of the year versus, the spring, summer, and fall?
Because that's one of the good things about the flu, if there's any such thing, is that it tends to be seasonal and goes away during certain times of the year. The coronavirus is like 3 months old. They don't know a whole lot about it, which is what I think sparks a lot of the fear, is that people don't have a lot of answers, but they don't know what it's going to do. The thing that we can remain focused on is that it is still impacting a relatively low number of people compared to, say, China, where there was a massive outbreak. We still have a relatively low number in our area. The urgency is for those people to take it seriously, take the self-quarantine seriously. That way this virus goes away and you never have to hear about it.
Well said, Haley.
Yes.
Thanks so much for that.
We do want to get back to the breaking news, why we are on in continuous coverage right now. Sources are telling Channel 2 that the Houston Livestock Show and Rodeo is going to be canceled because of concerns over the coronavirus. We have crews out there gathering all the information we can. There is going to be a news conference coming up at noon. But right now we want to go to our Taisha Walker, who's talking with people just visiting the rodeo. So Taisha, what's the feeling there? What are people saying?
Well, tonight we just got through the gates here. I don't even think most people know what is taking place here, what is being discussed both at City Hall and here at Energy. We do know that TJ here, he's on the Directors and Assistants Committee. Yes. You know that the rodeo will be shut down at some point. You don't know what day or what time. What else are you hearing?
All I know right now is is that they're holding a press conference at noon today, and that's all the information they've given me. That's what they told me to tell guests that are asking about it as well.
And you shared your sentiment with me just a short time ago. How are you feeling about this? You guys look forward to this all year.
We do. It's a big event, and it's something everybody looks forward to, and if it does end up being shut down, then it would be very sad for the city of Houston and for everybody that puts their time and effort and travel to get this to operate.
And you're sort of delivering the sad news to the people that are coming here to the rodeo. What's the reaction?
So far, we don't have a for sure notice. Like I said, at noon they're going to have a conference, and that's all the information that we know right now. So we're being told not to tell anyone that it's being shut down, but just that there is going to be a conference at noon.
Okay, so that there's a possibility.
A possibility, yes. Fingers crossed that it won't happen, but we'll see.
Fingers crossed, but if it is, talk about all the things that can be impacted. I mean, Lizzo, Black Heritage Day, people looking forward to the concerts, the vendors.
Yeah.
Talk about all the players.
A lot of people set time aside. I know there's a lot of people that travel from all over the U.S., all over Texas, and they're planning on being here for the 21 days. And if it does end early, it's going to be sad.
All right, TJ, thank you. We'll end it right there. Yeah, guys, I'm going to keep talking to some more people here at the rodeo and get their feedback, and we'll check in with you in a bit. Reporting live from NRG, Taisha Walker, KPRC, Channel 2 News.
Taisha, thanks so much. I want to give you a recap now. We have 14 cases in our area. Here's where we stand right now. There are 2 confirmed cases and 3 presumptive cases of coronavirus in Harris County. In Houston, there's still only 1 confirmed case and 1 presumptive case. In Fort Bend County, we are still at 6 presumptive cases. Montgomery County now reporting its first presumptive positive case. And we heard from health officials there early this morning. A 40-year-old man, he is said to be stable in the Montgomery County Hospital. Unclear if this patient has any underlying health conditions. They have not released that information. But Haley, want to bring you back into this discussion. That certainly does play a factor in all of this.
Yeah, I mean, that's what we really want answers on. That's what would really calm a lot of fears if we knew this was limited to those types of patients. I mean, this is somebody who we know is in the hospital, so you know, they're probably very, very sick. They're telling people not to go to the emergency room unless you are very, very sick. So this is, there's still just so many questions we have about Montgomery County. That's why reporters, you heard them in the room saying, do they have an underlying condition? And the county's trying to claim HIPAA, which is a law that protects patients from being identified. You know, it's up to everyone's discretion whether or not an underlying condition, as vague as that term is, would identify one person in particular.
Well, and they also said during that news conference that man had no real travel history, and at first it was kind of like, don't travel because that's how you're going to potentially get the coronavirus. So this man had no travel history.
That's what sparks a lot of concern here, is that in the beginning it was all, you know, if you've been to China, if you know someone who's been to China and they're sick, that's how limited it was. And that's why there's always been a low risk of getting this virus. This is one person, but it is a very important case because we don't know where this person got it. We know that all of those other cases were connected to the Egyptian cruise line, and we were told that, you know, if you had traveled to Egypt, to the Nile River on a cruise, that you might want to self-quarantine. It was such a relief, wasn't it, when we found out all of those people were connected. Now when we've got these people popping up, there's one in Frisco, now there's one in Montgomery County, that we don't know who they came in contact with. That's what's called the community spread. When experts start talking about the community spread, that's what they're alarmed about, is the people who start to get it and we don't know where they got it. Again, this is one person, but it makes an important case because we'll have to watch and see how did this person get it, and then without knowing who did they transfer.
Well, and right now they're monitoring 21 people in Montgomery County. They don't know if they're connected to this person, but they said they are monitoring currently 21 other people.
Yeah.
Don't go anywhere, Haley. We want to get back out to our Mario Diaz, who broke the news about the Houston Livestock Show and Rodeo being shut down amid coronavirus concerns. He's been getting some answers to your questions. Mario, what you got?
Yeah, you know, first off, I can tell you that the mood here at the rodeo has been somber here in the last 30 minutes because you start seeing people coming by saying, you know, what are they going to do about the vendors? You know, are they going to give them refunds? You know, the news has been filtering through here pretty quickly. The rodeo's still on right now, as we saw outside with Taisha. Inside, you see lots of activity. But for people like Riley and her father, they have questions, concerned. You have livestock. What do you have? You have a sheep here, right?
Yes, sir.
And you've worked the entire year for this rodeo.
Yes, sir.
So when you heard the news that we had to break to you that they're looking to shut this down, what was your reaction?
I was kind of disappointed because I've worked for it all year. It's just...
It's what we're hearing from other people. There are vendors out there, Dad. There are vendors who rely on the commerce end, whether it's merchandise or whether it's food, but there are also students like your daughter who are banking on this rodeo for potential scholarships down the road.
Absolutely. Yeah, it would be a big disappointment if for some reason she wasn't able to show her sheep after working all year long.
Can you understand the decision, though, that's being made at the time that it's being made, considering that we've seen this done in other places across the nation?
Yeah, I think there's an understanding, but I think more importantly, if we just have awareness and we have good practices, that we'd probably be okay.
And we're waiting for this new news conference that's going to be coming up here at the top of the hour. You brought up a good point. Your first question to me is, are they shutting down just the show, or are they shutting down the vendors hall as well as where the animals are? It's a great point because every night in NRG, you're seeing a packed house.
Right.
But that's not just the rodeo. There's other things.
Absolutely. Yeah, there's several facets of this thing as they go on each year. And like you said, the vendors, the exhibitors, the contestants, there's a lot going on here. From a lot of places.
I appreciate it. Well, listen, I'm sure it's a beautiful sheep. I'm sure people are going to still see it in the end, all right? Good luck with the sheep, all right?
Thank you.
All right, thank you. All right, well, take care. Thank you, guys. I can tell you that tonight here at the rodeo, the plan for the main show here, I had it here a moment ago, is Kane Brown was tonight, Cody Johnson tomorrow, big concert planned for Friday night, being Lizzie, of course. We don't know what the status is, but we do know that there's going to be a news conference here at the top of the hour with the mayor, with Judge Lena Hidalgo, with regards to what we have learned from multiple sources here this morning, some from within City Hall as well as outside of it, connected to the rodeo, to the county, who are telling us that they are going to be shutting down the rodeo. To what extent, that remains uncertain. At what point? Does that mean immediately today, at 5 p.m., after today? That remains unclear. Questions, though, that we know that are going to be asked and hopefully answered here in just a few minutes. But again, this is a huge blow for many people. You think about it, last year they had about roughly 2.5 million people. If they're shutting it down at about the midway point, you're looking at about 1.2 million people that aren't going to be able to come here. But from the other hand of it, or from on the other hand, I should say, with regards to the concerns that people have, that's 1.2 million people that might not be in a situation of, again, potential exposure with regards to this virus that has caused shutdowns, not only here in Houston, but across the nation for many, many events. And it has been going on now for several days nationwide. That's the very latest here at the Houston Livestock Show and Rodeo. Mario Diaz, KPRC, Channel 2 News.
Wow, thank you, Mario. Big news again coming out, and we are still waiting for that news conference coming up at noon to get more information about the closure of the Houston Livestock Show and Rodeo.
I want to go to Houston City Council member Amy Peck, who is now joining us now. Amy, are you there?
Yes, thank you.
So give us a rundown of what we can expect coming up at noon during that news conference at City Hall. What do you know about that, and what will be said? What will they be releasing to the public?
Well, I'm waiting to hear that information as well, to see what they're going to say at noon. Like you, I've also heard about the rodeo potentially being canceled, and so I just want to see what that means for Houstonians and make sure that everyone's safe.
What is it that you want to say to your constituents right now? Certainly, the concern continues to grow about the spread of this virus. What do you want people to know? What should people be doing right now?
Well, I want to make sure that everyone's getting good information. So make sure that you are looking at information on the city's website. Follow on Twitter, follow on the website to make sure that you're getting the correct information and not just information that someone might have heard from someone else.
And this is really going to affect so many people. We've spoken with vendors. This is going to affect the people who get scholarships from the rodeo. I mean, this is a big deal.
Absolutely. It is a very big deal. And so I'm very curious to see what the mayor is going to say at this press conference, to see, how we can make sure that people are still getting their scholarships, that we're moving forward in a responsible way, though, as well, to make sure that everyone's safe.
And I know you don't have a lot of details at this point, but this is a marquee event for the greater Houston area. Is this something that could just be shut down all at once, or would the rodeo possibly be shut down in phases, or are there certain aspects of the rodeo that will continue to go on that don't necessarily involve visitors and spectators? Do you have any insight on that?
I am not sure. That is a good question. I am waiting to see if the whole rodeo is going to be closed, or maybe just a few nights until some more information is released. I'm trying to find out that information as well.
And that is true, because again, there's so many concerts happening. There's just different events at the rodeo. Will certain ones be closed? We're still waiting to hear that. We're going to hear hopefully all of that information coming up at noon when the mayor gives that news conference.
Absolutely.
All right, Houston City Council member Amy Peck, we appreciate your time this morning. Thank you so much. I want to bring in health reporter Haley Hernandez, who's been joining us here at the desk all morning long as we continue our continuing coverage of the coronavirus and its impact on the Houston Livestock Show and Rodeo. One of the things that we heard the gentleman say, who was being interviewed by Mario, he says, look, I understand, but good hand washing and good hygiene goes a long way.
Of course it does. And that's why you keep hearing people say that. It's not to be condescending. It's because that is part of how we protect ourselves from viruses. It's good practice for flu season, for cold season. The concern, as I've been talking about this morning, is that they really let this coronavirus thing get out of hand. They do that, and then you've got finger pointing later on saying, why didn't you do more to protect me? Because this is not going, coronavirus, getting it wouldn't be a walk in the park, just like getting the flu would be. And there's evidence to suggest that coronavirus would be more deadly than the flu. The confusion comes in because people say, no, the flu kills more people every year. By the sheer numbers, yes. But by the percentages, when you look at what's happened in China, it's killing 2% of the people who are infected, which if the coronavirus became as common as the flu, chances are that the numbers of coronavirus would be bigger than the flu.
Well, and the thing is, like, if we all wash our hands, we're all fine because we're relatively young and healthy. But if we got the coronavirus and then we saw someone with an underlying health issues or an elderly person who are more susceptible to it, we could pass it to them.
Yeah, so people with underlying health conditions, you might not even consider yourself someone who's chronically ill because that, you might feel fine, you're on medication and things. I have chronically ill people in my family who I'm being very cautious to bring anything home to them. It scares me a lot. This is people with diabetes, heart disease, kidney failure, people who are on dialysis. Again, people who are probably under medical care right now, and they're taken very good care of, so they're not going to consider themselves chronically ill, maybe not all the time, but those are the people that we as a society need to protect. In order to do that, our leaders in our society are trying to cancel these things before it gets too big and out of control.
And you also think about the folks in the younger demographic, the woman who was in Italy and traveled on those flights back to the Houston area. She's between 20 and 30.
So
did she have an underlying health condition, or maybe she does and she didn't even know she had one?
Well, she's being quarantined at home, which could mean that she's maybe having milder symptoms than the people who are in the hospital. The people who are in the hospital who are probably getting some respiratory support, who are being monitored to make sure that their symptoms don't get out of control. It's when these symptoms continue to get worse and worse and worse, and you let this respiratory disease go further, that you risk real complications. Just like with the flu, when you get pneumonia and someone dies, it's the complications that can sometimes be more deadly than the virus itself.
All right, Haley, thanks so much. I want to get back to our Taisha Walker, who is out at the Houston Livestock Show and Rodeo. Taisha, you've been talking to visitors this morning.
I spoke with a couple of guests, and they are just trying to make the best of their time here today, not knowing what could happen, what will be the outcome of that meeting at noon, about 5 minutes away from now. I have Sarah and her family here from Pearland. This is their first day at the rodeo this year. How are you guys feeling knowing that the fate of the rodeo is looming?
It's disappointing. I understand it, but we love the rodeo, and this is our first year, our first day to come this year. We usually come 2 or 3 times throughout the season, and we might not be able to do it this year.
Do you understand, I guess, the severity of why they're weighing?
Yes. They don't want it to spread, and this is a huge event, and it could spread through everybody, so they're possibly going to shut it down. But it's still disappointing because rodeo is such a huge thing for Houston.
Have you guys been able to enjoy any of the rodeo so far?
We went and saw the animals. We went through the ag building. We just got to the rides, but we may or may not get on them if they shut it down in a couple of minutes.
All right, Sarah, thank you so much for talking to us. Yeah, as these guests are coming in, there's someone standing at the gate notifying them about this meeting that is about to take place in a few minutes and what is going to be discussed. Of all days, we're told that the Wi-Fi is down here at the park, so everyone is getting into Energy Park for free right now. They are not checking any tickets, so that is at least a good thing for these folks that are coming to enjoy the rodeo. But again, we don't know anything definitive yet. We're still waiting for that press conference to learn whether they are going to shut down the rodeo, when they are going to shut down the rodeo, the time, the date. So all of that will be considered. So I'm going to toss it back to you guys in the studio. For now, reporting live from Energy, Taisha Walker, KPRC, Channel 2 News.
All right, Taisha, thanks so much. Andy Sirota here, along with Christine Noel and health reporter Haley Hernandez, as we begin our noon newscast. We begin with a joint news conference that's expected to happen at any moment at City Hall with Houston Mayor Sylvester Turner, Harris County Judge Lena Hidalgo. All of this coming as we have been getting reports that the Houston Livestock Show and Rodeo is making preparations to shut down amid coronavirus concerns.
Yeah, and as we just saw live out there with Taisha, you can still see a lot of spectators and visitors enjoying the rodeo. This is a huge event, like the biggest. This is like Christmas for our city.
The people who are at the rodeo don't know that the rodeo is shutting down, right? I mean, we don't even know all the details of how or when this is going to happen. We are waiting. It should happen in just about a minute. But it's interesting that this major thing is happening in our city when worldwide the World Health Organization has just declared coronavirus a pandemic. So I have the information right in front of me. I want to tell you that the World Health Organization defines a pandemic as the worldwide spread of a new disease for which people do not have immunity. We have never been introduced to this virus before. Our immune systems don't know how to fight it, so that's what makes it a little scary. We're going into uncharted territory right now, you know?
Yeah, and certainly with news that the rodeo is possibly shutting down, as we're about to hear, this is not the first case that we're hearing across the country of major events being canceled. I mean, this is, I think people are still going to be shocked that this happens, but South by Southwest in Austin has canceled. March Madness possibly happening without any spectators.